Russia said its Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov has held a rare phone call with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio to discuss renewed peace efforts between Moscow and Kyiv. According to the Russian Foreign Ministry, Lavrov welcomed what it called the United States' positive role in helping Ukraine consider Russian President Vladimir Putin's proposal to restart direct negotiations in Istanbul. The talks, which had previously stalled, are now reportedly gaining traction, with both sides exploring conditions for a broader ceasefire. Moscow emphasized its readiness to continue engaging with Washington on the diplomatic front. However, key sticking points remain, including territorial claims and NATO involvement. So those were breaking developments coming in regarding, of course, the U.S. and Russia. In other news now, U.S. President Donald Trump has sharply criticized the U.S. Supreme Court's decision to block his efforts to deport Venezuelan migrants, calling it a bad and dangerous day for America. The court ruled against his bid to use the 1798 Alien Enemies Act to deport alleged criminals, including gang members and drug dealers, from the U.S. In a post on Truth Social, Trump argued that the ruling would allow dangerous criminals to remain in the country, potentially wreaking havoc and committing more crimes before facing legal action. He accused the Supreme Court of being manipulated by the radical left and claimed the decision would encourage more illegal immigration. Trump also attacked former President Joe Biden for not enforcing stricter immigration policies and allowing millions of undocumented migrants to enter the U.S. without legal consequences. Ross Feingold, political risk analyst, is joining us live from Taipei. Ross, thank you for being with us. What do you make of the United States President's criticism of this latest court ruling?
President Trump is never in fear of criticizing judges. He's done that throughout his time as president, in between his two presidential terms, when he was facing his own criminal cases. So we might often think of judges to be beyond criticism and that it's not appropriate to criticize them. President Trump will go after judges. In fact, he's not only going after Supreme Court judges, he's going after 3 Supreme Court judges that he appointed himself in his first term. But that's just his style, and I think it comes as no surprise. But ultimately, the criticism on social media from President Trump, or that he has given in television interviews, it's not going to affect how the Supreme Court ultimately rules on this matter, which they have basically returned to the lower courts before it will reach the Supreme Court again.
What do you make of this order, though, Ross? Do you believe it's going to have its ramifications on other such cases as well?
Yeah, this is very much a work in progress. There's litigation going on in different parts of the country. This litigation is at different stages. Some are still in the district courts, some are in front of the appellate courts. Some the Supreme Court has returned to the lower courts for further adjudication. So this is very much a work in progress. I still think, though, given a Supreme Court conservative majority, that when these cases get back up to the Supreme Court, I think the majority of justices are inclined to defer to the president and to find a way for the president to enact a very strict policy of deportations for undocumented people who are in the United States. They might quibble with some of the methods. They might say that people have a right to be heard. They have a right to challenge their detention. This is often referred to as habeas corpus hearings. But ultimately, I think the Supreme Court's going to come down on allowing the administration of Donald Trump to have a very active immigration enforcement policy.
Yes, Ross, also, of course, as far as Donald Trump is concerned, do you believe this is unlikely, though, to change his stance towards more deportations and more clampdowns?
Setbacks in the courts are not going to stop President Trump and his team from looking for additional ways and additional interpretations of law, or putting additional resources. They've already mobilized resources from across multiple federal government policing agencies, whether that's the Marshal Service or the FBI, Bureau of Tobacco, Alcohol, Firearms, and Explosives. They've really deployed a lot of resources, and they've deployed an increasing number of military to police the borders as well. I don't think we're going to see an end to that. President Trump campaigned on this. It's one of his key platforms. I think he's serious about cashing in this campaign promise that he made.
Ross Feingold, appreciate you joining us with your perspective. In a significant diplomatic push